Then you actually just disagree with medical consensus within the Western nation.
Yes, I disagree with the false medical consensus driven by politically driven, quote-unquote, doctors. If any doctor denies to me that there is a dichotomy between male and female, a sexual dichotomy between male and female, they're ignorant, and they are letting their politics get in the way of their science.
Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you?
Absolutely.
Or are they also treated like this, where they're told that they're opening up people to violence?
We have a good time in my class. You should join.
I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot. I've learned a lot just in this.
Can't they just leave this stuff alone? Why do the woke brigade have to come for everything? Why do they have to ruin everything? Why do they have to de-gender, change gender, abuse gender? Why can't they just leave us alone, these people?
In recent years, live television has become a battleground for political discourse, where journalists often face backlash for their confrontational questioning.
Why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's the
answer? Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to, you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
We will explore instances where journalists have been decisively challenged and destroyed by their interviewees, highlighting the tension between traditional journalism and the rising tide of political correctness.
And the Canadian people will be able to look up at the gas stations and see the prices coming down. And Trudeau can try to distract from his hated carbon tax by putting it in a free trade amendment to a pre-existing agreement. It won't stop me because I will axe the tax, I will axe the tax, and I will axe the tax. Thank you.
These unforgettable moments reveal how some public figures skillfully navigate tough questions and turn the spotlight on the interviewers themselves. First up, we have Vivek Ramaswamy, who recently turned a contentious question from a journalist into a teachable moment. When confronted about his views on modern woke ideology, Ramaswamy rejected the premise entirely, asserting that wokeism operates like a new secular religion.
You didn't say that you condemn white supremacy.
I'm not going to recite some catechism for you. I'm against vicious racial discrimination in this country. So I'm not pledging allegiance to your new religion of modern wokeism, which actually fits the test. I'm not going to bend the knee to your religion. I'm sorry. I'm not asking you to bend the knee to mine, and I'm not going to bend the knee to yours.
He argued that this ideology causes societal division and offered an alternative path focused on unity and shared values. Next, Ramaswamy criticized the media for fueling discord by weaponizing identity politics. Instead of dodging the question, he outlined his vision for a post-woke society, emphasizing merit and individual responsibility.
And I know you're going to go print the headline tomorrow. I already know this. We already know how your game works. Vivek Ramaswamy refuses to condemn white supremacy because you asked a stupid question. The reality is, I condemn vicious racial discrimination in this country, but the kind of vicious and systematic racial discrimination we see today is discrimination on the basis of race in a very different direction. You want to know what the best way is to end discrimination on the basis of race? Stop discriminating on the basis of race.
By taking this approach, he not only dismantled the journalist's argument, but also left viewers with a thought-provoking critique of modern media practices.
People have been responsible for dividing this country to a breaking point, creating a projection of national division. I meet people from the south side of Chicago to meetings like this one of every shade of melanin, multiple, from man to woman, doesn't make a difference, who are hungry for reviving unity in this country. And you, with your catechism that you try to get to politicians to whatever fake headline you're going to print on the basis of this conversation tomorrow, that's what's dividing this country to a breaking point. Shame on you.
That's not all. Next up is Donald Trump, a figure well known for his confrontations with journalists. In one fiery exchange, a reporter accused Trump of flip-flopping on his stance regarding reproductive rights. Trump's response was direct. He called out the journalist for quoting him out of context and demanded they refer to his full statement.
Do you think that your tweets and your name-calling are turning people off?
No, I think I wouldn't be here if I didn't have social media.
Well,
but the media is fake. And frankly, if I didn't have social media, I'd have no way of getting out my voice.
His confident rebuttal turned the interview into a masterclass in maintaining control during tough questions.
I didn't want to have this kind of angry.
Of course you did.
No, I didn't.
Of course you did.
No, I didn't.
Well, then you brought up a lot of subjects that
Well, I said
were
I'm going to ask you
inappropriately brought
tough
up.
questions.
They were inappropriately brought up right from the beginning. No, your first question was, this is going to be tough questions.
Why?
You don't ask Joe Biden. I saw your interview with Joe, the interview with Joe Biden.
I never did a Joe Biden interview.
The interview, 60 Minutes.
In another instance, Trump pushed back against a journalist who misrepresented his words regarding healthcare reforms. With his trademark assertiveness, he not only corrected the false narrative, but also demanded an apology on live television. These moments highlighted his ability to expose journalistic biases while keeping his audience entertained and engaged.
Are you ready for tough questions?
Are you?
That's no way to talk. It's no way to talk.
Leslie, one second.
At this point, one of our producers interrupted to advise about the time remaining in the interview.
I think we have enough of an interview here, Hope. Okay, that's enough. Let's go.
Shifting focus to Canada, a politician faced a journalist armed with ambiguous and leading questions. Instead of playing along, the politician paused to clarify the vagueness of the inquiries. His response emphasized the importance of clear communication, stating that common sense should take precedence over political rhetoric.
No, I asked you a question. You keep asking.
We ask the questions. We're the journalists. This is democracy. We ask the questions.
I have the freedom to ask questions if I want to, and I've just answered. I've been answering your questions all week.
Here's another one.
So no.
The government's introducing
why would they do a
investment
carbon
tax
tax?
credit.
You're not changing the subject. I know you want to change the subject.
No, I want to ask
because you don't want to talk about Trudeau's carbon tax.
This interaction became an instant hit among viewers, who appreciated his straightforwardness. By addressing the audience directly and pointing out the flaws in the journalist's approach, he turned the interview into a memorable lesson in effective communication.
By putting a carbon tax in a free trade agreement that we already had for years, it won't change a thing.
It's misleading.
Because I will axe the tax, and I will axe the tax with delight and with passion and with incredible speed.
In a tense discussion about civil court rulings, journalists attempted to corner public figures into making admissions about controversial legal cases. The interviewees, however, stayed composed and used their platform to educate viewers on the difference between civil and criminal court judgments.
So trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic.
This exchange underscored a key issue. Journalists sometimes oversimplify complex topics for dramatic effect. The interviewee's calm and factual approach revealed these tactics, reminding viewers of the importance of context and nuance in high-stakes discussions.
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist
I'm
is
denying that
dangerous.
trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get pregnant.
So you are denying that trans people exist?
Next, we look at Ben Shapiro, a commentator famous for his ability to dissect and dismantle complex arguments. During a live debate, a journalist accused Shapiro of holding outdated views on gender and societal roles. Instead of deflecting, Shapiro responded with detailed data and historical examples, forcing the journalists to rethink their framing of the issue.
Gender is tied to biology. So one of the big problems that you see in sort of the argument in favor of trans rights is this notion that gender and sex are completely separable. They're not completely separable. If they are completely separable, then this means that identifying people by their subjective gender really has no relevance as to whether they are a male or a female.
Shapiro's methodical approach transformed the conversation from a combative exchange to an opportunity for education.
If you believe that you are a woman, you are therefore a woman. Or if you believe that you are a man, you are therefore a man. I disagree with this. There are objective measures as to whether you're a man or a woman. There are objective measures as to whether you're male or female. There's certainly a spectrum when with regard to effeminateness versus masculinity. That's certainly true, but that does not change the underlying sexual dichotomy that is the basis for all human reproduction.
By sticking to the facts and staying composed, he effectively turned the tables on the journalist, leaving the audience impressed by his command of the subject.
that I just named
Then
off.
let me
None
explain.
of the medical associations that I just named off would actually support the idea that gender is biological. This is something that's completely untrue within every single medical consensus.
Well, then I will just say that anyone who suggests that gender has no reference whatsoever to biology, it's not connected in any way to biology, is just full of shit.
That's not all. Next up is an iconic moment involving Piers Morgan, who faced backlash from a woke journalist during an interview on free speech. When the journalist accused him of being out of touch with modern values, Morgan calmly defended his views, citing examples of free speech being curtailed in recent times.
But actually, it's a really important thing because it's flipping the narrative and making the guy
What's
the
the
victim.
narrative?
No, it is because it's turning the guy into the victim who needs saving.
Oh, yeah.
And ultimately,
Okay,
we all need saving, particularly you right now on this panel.
don't
by
need
the looks of
saving.
things. Well, why don't you love
Everyone
this?
needs
It's
to
an
save me.
upside-down realm where everyone is. You could actually play one of the ugly sisters. Finally, your dream role.
In a surprising twist, Morgan flipped the script by asking the journalist a series of pointed questions about their own biases. The resulting silence spoke volumes, making it clear that Morgan had successfully challenged the journalist's credibility.
Absolutely done up to here with the victim culture that we now have to endure, where everyone's a victim, weakness is celebrated,
I think there's a difference between being a victim and being
strength is a
vulnerable.
problem. Right? Everyone has to emote 24/7. You
Did you
come
not
into
ask-
work.
Did you not ask the question?
I can't handle it.
Why?
In another heated segment, climate scientists were invited to debate journalists who had oversimplified environmental issues.
Real fast, what percent of our atmosphere is CO2? Take your best guess. You don't have to be accurate. All down the line.
Repeat that question.
What percent of our atmosphere is CO2, carbon dioxide? Wild guess, it's okay.
I'll bite 5%.
When confronted with accusatory questions, the experts rebutted with well-researched evidence, exposing the interviewer's superficial understanding.
I'll just follow you then.
We'll go 7. That's my favorite number.
I'll see their 5 and suggest that we know that transportation causes 49% of CO2, so that's why we're all working on energy transition.
All right. So what number do you think it is?
5.
5? How about you? I didn't hear you, Mr. Dreher.
7.
7. Did you have one, Mr. Boyd?
So we got a 5, 7.
This Price is Right.
8. I'm going to
Okay.
get the high end.
All right.
Clearly, the experts were caught off guard and had no clue what the answer was.
Put you on ice. I ask a lot of people that because all we hear is climate change, CO2, CO2. I heard a couple of you on the panel saying you're looking to change your vehicles to electric, even though we don't have the electric grid. And me as a farmer, I wouldn't be real happy about running out and replacing $300,000, $500,000, $1 million pieces of equipment because someone wants it to be electric. The answer is 0.04%.
This moment highlighted the gap between sensational reporting and in-depth expertise. By focusing on the facts, the scientists dismantled the journalists' arguments, reminding viewers of the importance of informed discussions on critical issues.
So why would anybody be anxious to go out and change out all those vehicles that you've been upgrading? In my home state of California, CARB has eliminated lots of equipment. Trucks, we're down at least 70,000 truckers, and all because they don't make a mandate for a 2011 and newer vehicle. And so it's going to be harder to get things from the ports, all that. So
Abortion politics often creates some of the most contentious debates on live TV, and one recent exchange exemplified this dynamic perfectly. When pressed by a journalist to take a definitive stance, a prominent politician reframed the discussion to address broader societal implications. This tactic left the journalist scrambling to regain control of the narrative.
Trigger laws are laws that had been on the books prior to Roe versus Wade, or which in some cases had been passed subsequent to Roe versus Wade, that would establish some sort of ban or limitations on when women could receive abortions. They're called trigger laws because the existence of Roe established a national right to abortion regardless of the state of residence, but they would be triggered into effect if Roe were ever overturned.
Another instance saw a journalist misrepresenting polling data to corner an interviewee. However, the politician in question adeptly cited alternative data, demonstrating the importance of comprehensive research. These interactions revealed how prepared public figures could outmaneuver even the toughest questions.
Well, pro-life advocates are people who believe in the sanctity of the unborn child. They establish that that right to bodily autonomy or bodily integrity extends as much to the unborn human child within a woman as it extends to the adult woman or the teenage woman who is carrying that child.
In each of these instances, the interviewees managed to shift the dynamics of live television, challenging the very practices that have long defined journalistic interviews. Whether by calling out biases, reframing questions, or relying on well-researched evidence, these figures demonstrated how to navigate the tricky terrain of media interactions.
Well, pro-life advocates are people who believe in the sanctity of the unborn child. They establish that that right to bodily autonomy or bodily integrity extends as much to the unborn human child within a woman as it extends to the adult woman or the teenage woman who is carrying that child.
And there you have it, 7 unforgettable moments where woke journalists were utterly destroyed on live TV. These exchanges remind us why it's more important than ever to challenge biased narratives and demand accountability from the media. What do you think? Are these moments a sign that the tide is turning against woke ideology, or is the fight just beginning? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more unapologetically honest content from Beyond Woke.